Good evening, friends, and welcome to Insight. I am your host, Pat Gagliardo, and tonight's topic is B.E.S.T, Body Energy System Therapy. This is a hands-on technique to access emotional traumas that prevent the free flow of energy through an integrated body, mind, and spirit of the individual. A B.E.S.T workshop is broken up into 3 classes, and tonight Lillian Poston will be explaining it to us. And it is my pleasure to welcome Lillian to Insight. Lillian, thank you so much for being a part of this program. Now, Lillian, you and I go back some years, and the way I first met you was through, we had a mutual kind of, I don't know if we can call Cindy a mutual kind of friend. I guess we can, for different reasons. I was her client, and she was yours, so to speak. Now, Lillian, by trade, you are a registered nurse. I want to know if you could enlighten me. I know bits and pieces, but I want you to enlighten me. What captivated you to leave the nursing profession and get into body energy system therapy? And please explain to us the ins and the outs of it.
Thank you. I really haven't abdicated that RN 100% because it is a very valuable experience in my life. It gives me the license to teach and to touch. And since much of the work that I do is a hands-on modality, this has proven to be extremely valuable. Plus the fact that I can see both sides of the picture, the traditional, having been trained at Temple University Hospital School of Nursing, etc., and now entering into these alternative, fascinating, gentle, thorough methods that are in its entirety a very vast subject, and anyone who enters into alternatives has a window, more windows, and like the facets of a diamond, where our interests lie, we can expand, and it also will help us to reach the client where they are. And this is very important to me as an individual and a facilitator, I like to use that term, so that I can respect the belief systems that an individual coming to me for an evaluation. I can respect their belief systems, not to intrude, not to impose my values, but all the time asking permission to do the work. Now that sounds a little far out, but how would one ask permission? I'm working, as you mentioned, with the body-mind spirit integration, and there is no
balance.
Exactly, to achieve the balance. And that's what a simple definition of dis-ease is. This individual is out of balance, out of sync for some reason. And the reason may be emotional, it may be structural, meaning the organs or the skeleton, and it may be chemical, meaning diet, environment, allergies, and not necessarily those that they choose, but may be imposed upon them in the workplace, in the home, in the atmosphere. But to come from an RN to where I am, an RN and an SK, let me explain, that refers to specialized kinesiologist. And kinesiology is the study of kinesthetics, how something moves. These words taken apart are very simple to understand. And what is moving in this regard? It is the body energy flow, and it can be discerned in many different ways. Most people are familiar with the acupuncture meridian system, and as soon as I say that word, I rush in to say, I don't use needles, it's all hands-on. But we are
like an acupressure kind of thing?
Exactly.
And I want you to also talk to us about how the body tells you what's going on with it, because I found that very fascinating.
Thank you for asking, because that's the way in. We use a system called applied kinesiology, which is establishing a conversation with the body intelligence through the energy of touch. Once again, let me remind you that I'm working with the acupuncture meridian system, and the meridian may need definition in that it is a channel, much like a blood vessel or a lymph vessel, but it carries this vital force, that energy that the human cannot do without. Since we are from nature, we are very much like plants. We need air, light, and water. Take our water away, we'll survive. Take our light away, we'll survive. But take that air away, and we're not long for this planet. And this is where the vital force is basically brought into the being of the human. We've also ingested in our food the quality air that we breathe and the liquids that we drink. But getting back to the technique now, is that we're working with this meridian, which has 3 associations, one with a muscle, one with an organ, and the third with an emotion. So this, you can see quickly how we get into body, mind, spirit, because if the energy is depleted or repressed in any of these 3 avenues, then we are going to have what I like to term a brownout. We don't lose our connection, but the flow of this energy
is interrupted.
Exactly right. And it is a fascinating thing. And how would someone, as myself, become involved? Well, simply stated, my philosophy of life had changed, and I was impressed with the fact that we come from a limitless source, and we sometimes lose contact with that limitless source. But we can reintroduce ourselves or reconnect, and it really is a very fascinating
at any time to that source.
Anytime, anywhere, any place, anyhow, just with the desire. The thought energy is very, very important in the work that I do.
What kinds of individuals, what kind of problems with individuals would seek out your help? If, I mean, what if I had a heart condition? What if I had incapacitation through maybe a limb? Maybe I was handicapped in some way. What about persons with cancer?
Thank you for that question, too. It's loaded, but I can simply say that having explained body, mind, spirit connection, we always recognized in this format that preceding any physical handicapped or any dis-ease, there has been an emotional stress. It may precede this physical manifestation months, days, years, and even in utero. With applied kinesiology, we do a process called age recession, and we're asking the body intelligence, when did this begin? What is the cause of this stressor? My terms are non-medical because I'm trying to reach all levels of people's in understanding. So when someone comes to me with that kind of a description, I automatically, because I am an RN, have a little flashback run through of the experiences that they are having. And I capitalize on that word experience because we walk through, we move through an experience, and it can only limit us if we permit it.
And you have some interesting literature here in front of us. The asking the body technique that Lillian is speaking of is fascinating because Lillian actually touches your hands and has the hands answer questions, and the response is so quick you don't have time to think about it, so it has to be the inner intelligence talking back to you, or from you, I should say. Is there anything in the literature that you can show our viewers what we're speaking of as far as this touch therapy? Here we go.
Very quickly, I can share with you the Touch for Health manual, which describes what I was telling you, and I won't bore you with many of this, but this is a graphic that explains that the dark line is the meridian, and here's the intervention in the muscles. We have holding places on the head, and these dark lines represent reflexes on the body that can be massaged to restore this energy. I'm happy to tell you that the reflexes on the body is the Western mind's addition to the acupuncture meridian system that we don't have to study for X number of years to be able to know in depth, because we have learned to converse, and the applied physiology or kinesiology can be described as a biofeedback mechanism. And the arms become the indicators similar to a polygraph. We establish what is a yes answer, what is a no answer, and that equates to a yes, the energy is flowing through uninterrupted, so there isn't any stress, and no, this energy is interrupted, so we do have stress.
And you break down what causes the energy interference or the blockage.
Exactly.
And now that leads me into, you work with different kinds of flower remedies. And what I need you to explain for me and for our viewers, Lillian, if you would please, is what determines what essences work the best for whom and where.
Exactly.
And of course, why.
And why? All right, from the progression of Touch for Health and understanding acupuncture meridian energy, we come into another procedure that we call, from 3-in-1 Concepts, it's the behavioral barometer. But notice that the stressors are defined as being on the conscious level, the subconscious level, or body cell memory. This body is intelligent, records every stressor that we have ever experienced. And so through kinesiology, we determine where the stress level lies, conscious, subconscious, body cell. We can even identify the emotion. Now, when the emotion is in practice, this dictates the way people behave. And
Makes
here we
perfect
get
sense.
the progression, body, mind, and the activity. So when the stressor is identified and how stressful this is through a negative emotional charge, I also ask the body, how do you choose to release the stress? And there's a menu. So we have established the yes and the no, and then I recite the menu, saying, is it breathing? Breathing with color, because remember there's vital forces in the air that we breathe.
In the chakras.
Exactly. Breathing with color, creative visualization, or in essence. And the body has distinguished the way it will choose. Either the indicator will hold strong, it will be still, or it will dip, thus just saying, I'll take some of this, please. And in that respect, if it asks for an essence, know that these are homeopathic preparations, but they have been used by the ancients, revived by the Maui Indians, or continued, I really should say, by Maui Indians in Hawaii. And then there was a Dr. Edward Bach in England who formulated 12 healers, expanded them to 38. And that was his terminology. It cost Dr. Bach his whole practice as a medical doctor, because he had the audacity in the early 1900s to advertise, and anyone who would be willing and open to learn about his essences, he would teach. So he got the message, he got the notice, and his response is to their equivalent of AMA is that you do what you must do and I must do.
So even back then, they wanted to put the kiboshes, just like they're trying to do now. And I do hope we'll have the time to get into that, Lillian, about this, I think his name is Hatch.
The Hatch Act.
The Hatch Act. Yeah, Hatchet Act is what I'd like to call it. Earlier, before we came on the air, I was telling Lillian about a rather stressful situation in my own life tonight. It has to do with a very dear friend of mine and a rather difficult situation. So Lillian asked me if I wanted to get my meridians and my energy level somewhat back into balance. So, and she applied some rescue, and I'm going to have Lillian discuss that with us when we come back. And Lily and I will be back with your phone calls about body energy systems therapy right after this, so stay with us. Thank you. And welcome back. And for those of you who have just tuned in, you are watching Insight, and we are discussing body energy systems therapy with Lillian Poston. And I know I have two callers on the line, but I want Lillian to just please answer that question, and then we'll go right to the callers. Lillian, go ahead, talk about the essences and that rescue. And
I would just like to introduce people, if they're not familiar, the fact that from nature, from plants, homeopathic essences are prepared that have the ability to cancel out emotional stress in the human. And this has been documented by our own experts in a book called Vibrational Medicine by Geber, MD, and other sources as well, but I will mention that one because that is the most popular, and because it has MD behind it, people will listen. I did speak briefly about Dr. Edward Bach's Rescue Remedy, which is a combination of 5 herbs to help us to center and balance, get rid of that sense of panic and stress that arises.
Wish it did. I feel wonderful.
Excellent. Then we have another product here from the state of Virginia.
There it is.
This is Pearlander essences. I just brought one. There are 2 combinations of rose essences, 1 and 2. They also have garden essences. And then from the Siskiyou Mountains in Oregon, we have 3 sets. One is a color chakra balancing, the other is elemental chakra, and the other one is solar lunar. And for those who are familiar with Dr. Vogel's fame in cutting a crystal for the purposes of meditation and healing, the Siskiyou Essence people, the Shantis and Richard Dury and Deborah Hart, have such a crystal that Vogel cut for them, and these Siskiyou
I may
Mountain
want to
Essence
talk to you about that for when I'm meditating, to have my own crystal and my own essences to help me. Now, we do have to get to the phones. We have we have to allow our viewers to talk to us. Go ahead, Rodney from Charlestown, Rhode Island, and thank you for your patience.
How are you doing? The first question, well, the only question I really want to know is that myself, I'm a paraplegic, a quadriplegic really, with dysfunctional hands and fingers. What I would like to know is how am I benefiting? How would I benefit from this system that you have?
Well, the important thing would be to establish whether or not that your body would be open and to receive the work. If you remember earlier, I had said I don't work except without permission. And if I am not able to work hands-on directly with the individual, we may do a procedure we call surrogating, that we have another person whose energy is balanced. Then all they have to do would be to touch you, and I could ask the questions through the surrogate. And one mother asked me, how will I explain this to my son? It's very simple. If you can remember that an electric fence with a current running through it, if we have one person grasp that fence but have a chain of hands going on, the person holding the fence doesn't get the charge. It's the fellow on the end who learns by sharp jolt that there indeed is energy running through.
Right.
So without permission, I would not proceed. With permission, we could get many interesting stressors or ways that could increase your body energy.
The permission you're speaking of is that his body tells you this.
Exactly.
Okay.
The person coming...
Not another individual.
No.
Okay.
The person coming, by virtue that they come for a session, gives me their conscious mind permission.
Right.
But there are times when I ask permission to ask the question and it is not granted.
Okay.
But I would welcome the opportunity to work with anyone who is interested.
Okay, now what question would that be that you would ask me, per se?
Well, first of all, I would balance the energy flowing through the acupuncture meridian system, establish what a yes is, what is a no, do I have permission to proceed, and once the indicators, the arms, if we can't use the whole limb, know that we work with fingers. We don't have to have the whole limb working. And if, as I said earlier, we're working through the surrogate, I would ask, do we have permission to work with this individual? If the answer was yes, I could ask, in what arena do we begin? Where is the priority? Is it the mental, the structural, or the chemical?
Right, but being a quadriplegic, as I am, it doesn't only affect like one limb. It affects all 4 of my limbs, such as my legs and my arms. Now, my problem is that I have like too many, how you say, very violent muscle spasms throughout my body. I had a surfing-related accident out here in Narragansett Pier 9 years ago. And see, the thing is that I've been trying everything from doctors down to psychologists, finding out what I can have that would eliminate at least some of these muscle spasms. They've given me such as a drug called Lioresal or Valium, which I'm highly against because of the depressant drug that it has on you, and you see in cases that more people are becoming more addicted to that drug. But Lioresal has no effect to me whatsoever.
Rodney, excuse me. I think you would best benefit, excuse me for interrupting you, but I think you would best benefit by giving Lillian a call and let her explain to you, or you can write here at the program, and we'll be more than happy to send you some brochures and anything else that you might need to, to peruse before you, think about making an appointment.
Yeah.
I think that would be very beneficial to you, Rodney.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you
for
very
calling.
much, Pat.
God bless you, Rodney.
You too.
Thank you. Go ahead, Lucy from Coventry. You're on the line.
Yes, hi. Good evening, Lillian. I wanted to ask you if you could use the body energy systems to help me quit smoking.
Yes, that is a definite stressor that everyone struggles with, and it is a difficult habit to break. The procedure that we go through takes all of 20 minutes to 30 minutes, and there is a follow-up. There, of course, are emotional stressors there. There is chemical addiction there. I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but nicotine is a very strong habit to break because it lodges in the brain cells. Mm-hmm. It is not impossible. It can be accomplished, and because I do another system called contact reflex analysis, there is also nutritional support that will help the body regenerate the cells and even to rebuild the tissues of the lungs that may or may not have been damaged in the process.
And you also have to have that permission given, remember, and that permission means you have to be willing, Lucy.
Where can I make the appointment?
Okay. Thank you for calling, Lucy. Go ahead, Gloria from Hamden. You're on the line.
Is there any help for a condition my husband had called diverticulitis, or some help for his digestive system that causes his diverticulitis?
Very definitely. I'm privileged to work with a number of people using the contact reflex analysis system, which is, again, asking the body through reflexology where the stressor is and what supplements. Contact reflex analysis is the result of 50 years of research, some before our supplements were ever online, and we are definitely working with specific nutrition called clinical nutrition to help the body regenerate these cells. This vehicle, the body, is very similar to the automobile we drive. If we put in high-test fuel, well, we get high performance, but for some reason, an individual's system may not be able to assimilate good nutrition. I don't mean to put anyone down when I'm saying that nutritionally they're deficient. Mm-hmm. They may be indeed ingesting the highest quality, be very conscientious about what they eat, how much they eat, and yet they don't reap the benefits. Mm-hmm. And that truly is one of the reasons that introduced me to all these other ways of working, because we can indeed reestablish this state of health, which is, to me, is the normal state of man.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your phone call, Gloria. And all of those of you who are on the lines, I'm sorry you couldn't get through tonight, but we'll have to have Lillian come back. This is a fascinating subject and is so educational and enlightening, I might add, too. I want to thank you so much for coming to the program, and you're going to have to come back and do it again. Be patient, those of you who are waiting for me on the lines. I will be taking your phone calls immediately following these commercial messages. Hi, and welcome back. And we're going to go straight to the lines. Go ahead, caller from Rocky Hill, you're on.
Hi, I was wondering, during my lifetime I've had many bad relationships with men, and I was wondering if that was going to change and improve.
Excuse me, caller, I need some volume. And would you repeat the question, please?
Yes, hold on. Yeah, during my lifetime I've had problems with relationships, and I was wondering if that was going to better itself or change for the worse.
I don't know about for the worse, caller, but I will say this, I get very much of the same. It's your patterns that you need to look into and to change. what comes to me is I sense a lot of giving from you. Give, but when it's like you empty the cup and you wait for it to get filled up and it's not there. And then there's this balance. There's an emptiness that takes place, and I think it's what you keep doing is kind of like repeating, and that's why it's much of the same kinds of relationships that do not satisfy you or that are nurturing. What you need to do is get in touch with yourself totally. And that means, as we were talking a little bit earlier in the program, balance, mind, body, and spirit, balanced, looking at yourself, knowing what you are as a person, where you're going, what you're doing, what you want to be doing. You're not going to find it out here. It has to start in here first. And that's not happening for you. There's like this cloud about you that shows me a lot of negative, and you've got to work on your body being healthier too.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
I can hear it. You didn't have to ask me.
Is that going to improve, or I'm going to have flare-ups there?
Well, you will probably have flare-ups because I don't feel that it's all self-induced. However, I do feel you could take better care of yourself physically, doing better things for yourself. Certainly, I hope not smoking, and something with allergies I keep getting, or flare-ups in that way, of probably due to allergens and things like that. And there are things available to you through homeopathic, through kinesiology, and those kinds of areas. Not just through the, you know, the, I don't know, the normal, I guess we could say, normal veins. So you have to do that first.
Okay.
Get yourself back on track.
Having an important relationship in the near future.
Important?
Yeah.
I sense that there is somebody there already in and out of your life, but I don't feel it's happy. I don't feel it's nurturing. I feel it's rather, I don't know, getting used to, meaning it's there, but it's not there with any emphasis of greatness, of love, of, you know, passion. That I don't feel. And you need that. I don't think you've ever really had it.
No.
Even when you were little.
Yeah.
And you're craving that. And that's why I said get in touch with you first. And you have a right, you know. You have a right to get those things in your life. And sometimes it means stepping on certain toes. And if we have to do that, we have to do that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Hamden. You're on the line.
Hi, Pat.
Good evening.
I was wondering how you felt about my love relationship in regards to engagement and marriage.
Isn't there something already planned, or in the planning, I should say, or talked about?
Maybe talked about, that's about it.
Okay, well, that's why I felt planning, but not planned. Okay, just talked about. Well, don't let it get set back on the back burner. Now that it's been discussed, but you don't want to be impatient either. I did feel a little bit of insecurity from you, and there's no reason to be. I know you wanted it yesterday already. You want to talk about date, time, people, place, and all of that. But give the relationship time. Give him time to really adjust to exactly what you're looking for out of this relationship. You've hinted around enough, and then I felt like it got talked about, but for all the wrong reasons. You don't want him to talk to you to shut you up. You want him to talk to you because you want it to be a mutual goal. And right now I'm feeling a little bit of drawback, but that doesn't mean he doesn't care. It just means he might not be as ready as you are. So be a little more patient. But you'll find in '94 that there will be plans made, not planning or talking, but plans made. But he has to see in you a strength, not to be a weight. You understand?
Right.
Okay.
Can I also ask you about my job situation?
About your what?
My job situation, meaning my career.
Job, okay. Lack of career is what came to me. I think you're in a position that's not super fulfilling. You really need to work with people, and you have so much energy, but you need to be focused with it. You run amok with yourself, if I may, meaning you've got so much stuff going on in here that it's not always focused, and you need to really do that first. Do you now work with people that are in and out, you know, that might see you for a service and then...
Well, I'm a teacher. There's just...
Oh, no wonder. Okay, okay. You might want to apply yourself then, too, to doing some writing.
Writing?
Yes, writing.
I'm not a writer.
No, you don't think you're a writer, but you've got an awful lot stored up in here that could be very beneficial. Maybe in programming then. Not writing as in novels.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking in putting things together, curriculum maybe,
But
that kind of thing.
As far as me having a classroom of my own?
You don't have that yet,
No.
but within the next year and a half that should change.
Okay.
So be patient.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Brooklyn, you're on the line.
Hi, Pat.
Good evening.
I was wondering, I've been a single mother now for 12 years, and although we're making it financially, it's always been a struggle. I've worked 2 jobs on and off. Is my financial picture going to get any better?
It's improved already. It's not great, but it has improved. But you know what impressed me even greater than that? Yes, you've been a single parent for 12 years, but you have got a solid rock relationship with this child. I'm very, very comfortable. I'm not saying that you don't have a little bit of ups and downs. It wouldn't be human if you didn't. But there is an openness that is shared that really... Are there 2? Or just you and one?
Well, I just have one at home now.
Okay, one at home now. But isn't there another one? 2?
There's 2 more.
Okay. Well, maybe that's why I was getting 1 and 2. But in any event, the one that's at home, I think sometimes is a little bit of a barrier, only because I feel that you're away. But you have a real openness with your children, and you've got to keep that going, because there's a lot of respect, and there's a lot of love, and there's a lot of goodness in this, even though you've been alone with it for so long. You've done one heck of a good job.
Well, thank you.
You should be very proud of yourself.
Really great.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. And I'll be right back to answer some of your letters right after this, so stay with me. Thanks. And we're back, and the first letter tonight comes to me from Stella from Voluntown. Stella, you asked me about health and the sale to your home. Dear Stella, in looking at your photo, I immediately sensed a problem in your chest and your lung area. Even though you didn't specify to me that was really a concern, there is a need for medical attention, and stress, I feel, is a very, very big problem for you. You are under a lot of pressure and concerns, and I feel as though you're carrying a lot of the burden yourself and it not being shared with anyone else. And this gave me a lot of concern for you. You must lighten up this stress. As for the sale to your house, unfortunately, I didn't feel anything moving right away. I don't know if it's the area, the price, or a combination of both. But I did feel some sort of bites, if I may, in the year of '94. And I'd have to say probably the latter part of the first quarter, toward the spring into early summer months, and then again late summer into fall. So you have to be patient as far as that goes. The second letter comes to me from M from New Britain, Connecticut. You asked me about career, and you asked me about a boyfriend. Well, dear M, in looking at the snapshot, I believe you already know the answer to your question, and that you needed me to confirm your feelings. An awful lot of people will do that, even those who call. Some may be hoping that I'll give them totally opposites, but the inner or the real self usually knows, and then Pat usually has to confirm. I do not feel a true commitment in this relationship at all. You are looking for security, you want marriage and all the trimmings, the house, the family, the white picket fence, etc. My impressions are to tell you, simply get on with your life. You will find that '94, late in the year, will hold much change for you in relationship, and also education kept coming into my mind, career changes. You have so much compassion, and you need to work in a capacity of helping persons with hardships of some manner, but not counseling. I don't feel you could sit and listen to someone's problems day in and day out without reaching an early burnout. But working maybe with physical therapy or IV therapy or some kind of clinical therapy or hospital involvement or anything along those lines. And the third letter comes to me from HK in Kensington. You asked me about your husband's future career, and you asked me about opening or making more awareness of psychic abilities. Well, dear HK, in looking at your husband's photo, boy, my heart goes out to him and to you, because I sensed a man who has a quote-unquote negative cloud above him because of much insecurities. I felt poor dysfunctional background, a lot of guilt manipulations, a lot of pressures in maybe not feeling very good about himself or feeling as though he fits in or he measures up. He has strong mood swings, I felt, and that that gave me concern, because very high and very low ebbs, and I don't feel he really articulates a lot or has a vent for a lot of his own disappointments. There are fears and poor self-esteem. He is a smart man and a good man, but he is certainly in need of balance, mind, body, and spirit. There are several options to answer your second question, there are several options in learning how to tap into psychic awareness, or the super consciousness, or the God consciousness, if you will. And I'm a person who strongly believes in meditating. And meditating to me is to silence out the world, to really get in touch with the higher self. It's this higher self, as we were talking earlier in the program, that knows everything. From even when you were in the womb, your body already knows, because I believe that God consciousness gives us that upon the first breath that we take, even before then. So if we have the ability to sit still, to block out all the physical pressures and tap into those resources, then we could really surprise ourselves with just what we're capable of doing. And I'm a prime example of that, especially being a skeptic 15.5 years ago. So I can say that with a certain amount of confidence, as well as my own experiences. And thank you very much for your wonderful compliments. Kay and listening Aunt GR, I loved it. That made me chuckle when I read that. And I hope the listening Aunt GR is going to convey this to you, Kay. You asked me about business, and you asked me about a need to feel zest and a zeal in your life, to feel really productive. Well, dear Kay and GR, as far as the business opportunity that you asked me about, my concern about this new business venture was the newness. How long has this corporation, this company, or this business been into operation? I felt things really needed to be a wait-and-see kind of attitude, wait a while and see before you went out, and certainly before you invested any money. I just felt too new. That's what my impressions told me. And before you plunge into it, as I said, I think you need to really investigate it some more and make certain it's what you want to do. You also need to work on yourself, your image. Only then can I feel motivation and zeal for you, because you are very unhappy with yourself. You're unhappy with the way you look, your self-image, your body, everything. And please try to make a makeover for yourself. Maybe a new hairstyle, working out, doing something about your nutrition, and stop trying to live in others' expectations of you, because there's two sides of you, Kay. What happens is you become angry, and then there's a side of you that comes out that wants to take charge, when in actuality you're really hurting inside, and you just want some kindness and someone to be a little sympathetic to you. Ask yourself what really makes you happy. Then you can be easily, and you can also be easily led because of your own insecurities and fears. So get back in touch and talk to yourself. What really would make me happy? And then go for it. And make certain that you realize that your goals are within your reach. You don't want to make them out of your reach. You've done that enough already. You make them certainly not feasible goals in your mind, almost unattainable ones. And you've got a lot to offer. You're very smart and you're very educated. And that's a very big plus. And if you would like to write to me, you may address your mail to our new address now. Please write to Insight, Post Office Box 991. Hi, and we're back, and we're going to go straight to the lines. Go ahead, Weathersfield, you're on.
Hi, Pat.
Good evening.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
I have two questions. I know one at a time.
Right.
Okay. The first one is that I've been saving money for a while, and I'm thinking of getting a car because my mom's car is kind of messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And my best friend's stepdad has one that he's fixing up that he offered me, and I wanted to know if that would be a good deal, or if I should just hold off on buying a car.
How old of a car are we talking about?
I'm not quite sure.
Because I felt really an older model, and my only concern with that is, you know, you can have a great engine, and believe me, I felt that the man is quite capable of fixing the car up, but you don't want to be riding on an engine and have the rest of the car fall apart.
Yeah.
My only concern with it is, I really felt if you bought the car that it'd probably last you for a while and then start to give you some trouble. You've worked very hard, and you've managed to put quite a little bit aside for yourself. If I were in your shoes, I think I would go to new. And this way here, you've got you know, you'd be a lot better off as far as warranties and this and that go. That's my impression. That's what I've got to tell you.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Okay. Go ahead. What's your second question?
The second question, my boyfriend and I have talked about marriage. And he said after he graduates, which is 95, but I'm thinking more like around 98. And I was wondering if you saw a year when it would happen.
Did you tell him this?
No,
I didn't think so.
I didn't tell him this because he said something about maybe 95, and I was like, wait a minute.
No, you're not ready to get married in 95,
No.
but I don't think it'll be as far down the road as 98 either. Let's see what comes up for you right around the middle of 96, at least for maybe planning it. You know, he's a very good guy. The energy that I get is that he's pretty level-headed. It can be kind of silly sometimes, I felt, kind of comedian type, but that's good. I felt very comfortable. The only thing I'm not comfortable with is I keep getting an indifference about his career, like he might be caught between two different kinds of careers. You know what I mean? Like from one to another. So that gave me a little bit of concern because I also felt between now and 95 that he's going to make a change in his major, you know, the one that he's considering. He needs to be with people. He needs to work with people in some regard, not just computers and stuff like that. I'm talking mobility and working with people. Very, very positive energy about him for that. Why does the name Mark or Mike play a role here?
I think it could be one of his friends.
A good friend, isn't it? Doesn't he live on a dead-end street or a road that has a rocky driveway? Dirt and rocky? Okay, I had a little bit of concern there because I felt some emotional upset, either with Mike or Mark, I'm not sure. The energy was not clear, so I'll give you both. Either with himself or in his immediate family. And he's a very good friend of your boyfriend's because I feel they're together as often as they can. If they're not physically together, they're, you know, talking or something. So just kind of be prepared for that. And why is the month of April prominent?
April.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Then write it down, because if you don't, you will. Something significant I keep getting in the month of April. Exactly what? I don't know, but you will.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. You have a pleasant evening. Go ahead, West Haven, you're on the line.
Hi, Pat, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Pat, I have two questions for you. My first question is, I've been married 10 years to my husband, and we fight constantly. Now, I'd like to know if you see a future for the two of us.
Oh, boy. You know, you're fighting because nobody's being heard, and what you're battling about here is almost like a battle of wits. Somebody wants somebody else to hear their pain and feel their feelings, and the other one wants... You're competing here for people, for each of you to recognize the other one's hurts. And that's not going to work because you wait until the pain is so great, and then there's a lot of back and forth, and that's not going to accomplish a thing. And I'm going to tell you something else, caller, and please understand I'm not taking sides, but I'm going with what my impressions tell me. Your husband is a private man.
Bingo.
His personal life is important to him, and the best thing you can do is be quiet about it. Nothing exasperates him more than hearing this. And you know, when a problem's this big, the more you do this, it ultimately gets this big. If you're going to talk to anyone, get a counselor. Get a therapist. Get a sounding board where you can talk and he can hear, he can talk and you can hear. You've lost your priorities. You've lost the importance. It's like you're in the same house and taking up space, and both of you are like waiting to explode. Looking for, you know, this, it's no good. It's not going to work. And you know, you do love him.
Yeah,
or
I do.
it wouldn't upset you so much. And he, you. But there's all of this garbage, if I may speak so bluntly, that's accumulated and never been taken out. And that has got to happen. Please, please don't talk to friends or neighbors or family. Talk to someone who can be totally objective and help. Okay. And you know, he's got a lot of pressures on him due to the job. You do know that, don't you?
Yes.
Very much so. Why do I feel late in the night or later in the evening? Is there any reason I feel he'd be working overtime or later in the evening be away?
Well, he does work until like 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Okay, so that's why I kept getting later in the evening. I thought like a second shift or something. Okay, and that's difficult because he doesn't sleep very well either. So, I mean, it's not one problem that you share here. There's many. There's many. And if I can be of any assistance, call me.
Pat?
Yes.
Also, I'm getting pulled by 2 different religions. I'm getting pulled by the Mormons and the Jehovah's Witnesses. And this is getting on my nerves, it's getting on my husband's also. How would I go about discouraging these 2 pulling on me?
May I have the privilege to answer you honestly, right from my heart? Thank you. And understand this is not a judgment.
Okay.
This is not, I am not going to make a judgment on any religion.
Okay.
But I think I need to express to you something that might be invaluable to you to understand that, number one, spirituality is inside each and every one of us. When we were created, I truly believe with every ounce of my being, we're all born with God consciousness in us. God consciousness to me means everything that is wholesome, healthy, and purports nothing but goodness and kindness. If there's confusion, if there's doubts, if there's anxieties, then both of you need to re-examine if this particular religion is for you. God consciousness can only bring together that is wholesome. I'm not saying there won't be trials. I'm not saying there won't be tribulation. But a religion should bring peace. If a religion is not bringing peace, then look elsewhere for the spirituality. There is a big difference, my dear, between spirituality and religion. Please understand that. If you feel uncomfortable, then you have the right of choice, because that was God's greatest gift to us, free will. Please don't let anyone take that away from you.
Okay.
Okay?
Thanks a lot, Pat.